I'd like to show you Exause City. I want to talk about some of the design elements of this idealized design. And let's start with the freeways. So as we're coming into the city, as you enter the city, there's 4 entry points, and these are throughways that do not intersect. They only intersect with themselves. And so here they come. You would go and then around the city, so there's kind of a circle around the center of the city. One of the biggest things is the roundabouts. Notice the use of roundabouts. On any major intersection, there's going to be a roundabout, and there are no stop signs or no stop lights. It's a roundabout. But you'll notice now there's these other lines that are intersecting with this, and they won't be directly, but they will join also at a roundabout here. And this is how you enter. These are the inner city roadways. And one of the biggest things is that we're going to minimize the amount of times that you have a meeting point. And now you got to have a balance. I mean, you don't want them too infrequently, because you don't want to miss the off turn here and then, oh man, and you have to go all the way over here before you can turn around. You wouldn't want that. But at the same time, you don't want too many interactions either, because that's going to cause congestion, and it makes it more confusing when if you're trying to drive. The other thing you want to do is the flow. You want to designate roadways to where if somebody's trying to get from here to here, they don't have to come to a bunch of stop signs in the middle of the city. They can just go right on through. Don't even have to come to a stop. And I mean, the same goes for really anywhere you would want to go in the city. If you want to go from here to here, well, if you have to come to a bunch of stops every once in a while, starting and stopping, accelerating, you're emitting more CO2, and also it's just slower. So if you can get from here to here, let's see how I would do this. I'm going to hop on right here. Boom, I'm going to come around. Let's just go on the big road here. This is going to get us there the fastest. We come around, we get off here, boom, and we land in our destination, and we didn't come to any stops. And another thing I want you to notice is where do we develop? Well, you don't develop too far away from these major roadways. And I had a piece of chalk that was the perfect size to skim around where the roadways are, and I don't develop outside of that, because in this case, it's basically a way of minimizing the footprint of the roadways, but maximizing the access that everybody has to these roadways. So you don't have to necessarily have so many roads to make sure that everybody has a street very close to where their house or where their business is. Notice also the green here. So this is a park, and this is just a network of parks. So look at this. You can be in the center of the city, and you can walk on a park and on a pathway and be in a park and go all the way around the whole city. And these darker lines, they indicate not only the barrier for where the park is, but they're also a designated bikeway and walkway. So you can walk or bike on these paths all around the city, and you never intersect with vehicular traffic. So at all of these points where this crosses a road here, well, there would be either an underpass or an overpass for the bikes to get through, and that's the case for all of these intersections. You're never like having to come at a stop and click the button, wait. No, you never have to do that in this city. You just get on your bike and say you're here. Okay, well, you've got to go on some roads to get to the bike path, the main bike path, but you can do that. Another thing, I actually didn't draw this here, but I would probably want to do actually bike path right along where this major roadway is. Yeah, probably want to do that, and I'd probably also want to do this. And the same idea here. This is a bike path and a pedestrian path. And then every time it crosses a road, it's going over, it's going under. And in fact, one thing you can do is you can make put all of this underground so that there's never a situation that it's not weather permitting. Your decision to ride your bike or walk is not always weather permitting. If you can have an underground system, then you can do it year round. And what that does, it enables people to be less dependent on the car. They have most people have a car in this country because you don't have a choice. You have to have a car. You can't get anywhere without one. But if you design for this, you don't have to have that kind of dependence on the car. And then here's a last element that I'll show you for this is the city. There's a city center here. And one thing that I'm really interested in the idea is that in the very center, this is the public square. All of the public buildings are housed here, and anything public is happening here. Now, given the fact that most municipalities in the United States, probably 30% of their activities or more as a percentage of being an employee, the cities, and basically what I'm trying to say is this would need to be bigger than it is in this model, because it would that's not going to be big enough to house all of the public activities that are necessary for the city. And look at what this does. It's right in the center. Everybody has pretty much equal access to that public space, which I think is an important element. But now, outside of this, everything else is open game. It's private. It's for private purchase and private development. So what happens out here is totally up to the markets. So there's a nice separation. This is public, this is private. And on the private area, development happens as is seen fit by the people who own the property and people in the community. And this allows for, and what's going to happen here is that you're going to have mixed use. I think that's what naturally happens when you open it up to the markets. You get mixed use, as opposed to what we tend to have, which is the suburbs, housing over here, and this is only, there's no zoning like that. It's totally open zoning. So you can do whatever you want here. You can build high, you can build low, you can build a park, you can have it be residential, you can build a church, you can have it be an industrial manufacturer. Well, okay, that's not necessarily true. I think that's the one area where if you do need to have a polluting industry, which I think you would not want to, that would be discouraged with this model. But if it were necessary, then you would set that out here. So this is industrial park out here. Give a nice long road for them, and they can do what they need to do out here. Industrial. And then let's build another park around this polluter, because the trees will be able to sequester. We'll use best practices around biological remediation. Trees. Planting trees. And planting trees all in here. Fruit-bearing trees, nuts, that can be for harvest.